Beautiful song, piece of music I should say, to begin today's farewell. Well, good afternoon everyone, and welcome to you all as we gather in loving memory of Sylvia, and a warm welcome to those joining us via live stream. With the spirit of love and friendship that each of you bring from both near and far, this memorial service for Sylvia will be made even more meaningful, and on behalf of her family, thank you for taking the time to be here to honour her memory. My name is Gina Brakey, and having officiated Jeff's funeral back in 2015, it is again an honour to have been invited by Sylvia's family to lead today's farewell. I know it is their wish that we spend this time together reflecting on the qualities that made Sylvia unique, and today will be a chance to celebrate her life with the respect and love that she so richly deserves. In our hearts, we will cherish the moments shared with Sylvia, the love that was given, and the impact that her life has made. We're gathered this afternoon in this beautiful chapel to honour the life and memory of Sylvia Nixon, a loved wife, sister, aunt and friend. Today memories will be shared, and you will all share in a sense of sadness that Sylvia is no longer a physical presence in our lives. However, today we will also be reminded of a life lived well, and there's no question that our lives are richer for having known her. Every life has value and purpose, and every life deserves to be honoured and to be remembered. This service is testament to that truth. It provides a special time of reflection, and it is a chance for you all to look back on Sylvia's life in a simple and sincere way. Today, we not only remember Sylvia's memory, but the values she lived by: resilience, perseverance, and an unwavering commitment to those she loved. These qualities shaped the person that Sylvia was, and while she may no longer walk amongst us, her spirit, her determination and her legacy will continue to inspire us all. Sylvia was the sort of person that never wanted or needed a big fuss made of her, and today will be no different. Her family agreed that she wouldn't want us to dwell on the sadness of her passing. Instead, we will focus on the things that brought Sylvia joy, making this farewell a simple and sincere celebration of her life. In the course of her 87 years, Sylvia was the loved wife of Jeff, who was deceased, sister of Mari, and a special aunt to her nieces and nephews. Along with her neighbours and friends here this afternoon, you are all an important part of Sylvia's life, and I'm sure if she could, she would thank you all for the love and the friendships that have been shared. As you take this time to remember her in your own special way, may it be a warm reminder of how much she has meant to many. While preparing for this service, I recently spoke with Kerry, and she shared with me a little about her aunt's life. The first thing that I learned was that Sylvia was an independent and very determined lady, someone who lived life on her terms. She had a compassionate nature, and along with being a caring wife, aunt and friend, she had a great love of dogs, which I'm sure everyone here knows, and she was an avid bird watcher. Both dogs and birds gave her a lot of joy over the years. Sylvia and Jeff were by each other's side for over 45 years. They enjoyed a simple, happy life together, and something that brings us all comfort is knowing that they are reunited once again. Here's just a little snapshot of Sylvia's life as remembered by Kerry. Born in Richmond on March the 6th, 1937, Sylvia was the middle child born to Fred and Toddy. Her family grew up in the inner suburbs of Melbourne. Sylvia attended St Ignatius Catholic School with her sister Mari, but left school at an early age as she had limited financial support at the time. Sylvia's husband Jeff often commented on her ability to save and plan, and early on in their marriage she changed his spendthrift ways, of which he was so grateful. While leaving school at the young age of 12, Sylvia worked at several jobs, but considered her first real job was working at Manchester Unity in the city, a place she remained for many years. Sylvia's mother died suddenly in 1955 when she was just 18 years of age, and her auntie Mary and Lil were very good to her and treated her like their own daughter. Sylvia met Jeff Nixon on a blind date at a trotting fundraiser at Harvey Hardy's house establishment in Rowville, which Jeff was attending with his family. The story goes that Jeff didn't have a girlfriend at the time, and he needed a date for the evening. Jeff asked his good friend, Lynn Williams, if she knew someone special that he could take to the fundraiser. He said that she needed to be a good sort, and she should know how to behave around important people. Lynn replied, "I have just the right person for you." The evening went well. Sylvia impressed Jeff with her dancing. She danced his legs off and with her dance moves, and suffice to say that evening was the end of his gallivanting days. In 1969, Sylvia and Jeff were married at St Paul's Cathedral, the beautiful church on the corner of Flinders and Swanston Street in the city. After their wedding, they lived in St Kilda for a few years before purchasing their property in Hampton in 1973. Sylvia travelled into work into the city each day, and on weekends, both she and Jeff enjoyed going to parks and watching the bird life. Sylvia acquired a lovely stray poodle named Mandy, whom she loved and was her best little companion for many years. One story of Sylvia's love of dogs was when she was a teenager and volunteering at a dog shelter. Apparently, the story goes, she befriended a dog that was unable to be rehomed and was going to be put down. So Sylvia was having none of this. She smuggled the dog out of the pound in a paper bag, and she travelled home on the train, and she cared for that dog for a number of years. There are quite a few stories of Sylvia befriending stray dogs. I'm sure many of you here today would have some. She gained their trust, and she then adopted them into her home. Jeff often joked that Sylvia had three loves. Number one, birds and dogs. Number two, music and dancing. Number three, Jeffrey. In the early 90s, Jeff and Sylvia decided on a sea change and moved to Merimbula, where they settled happily for 10 years. And then in 2005, they moved to beautiful Marlow. Jeff loved Marlow, but Sylvia wasn't so sure, and they eventually moved to Eastwood here in Bairnsdale in 2010. Jeff's health hadn't been the best, and they wanted to be closer to medical facilities. Jeff and Sylvia love the outdoors and they love nature, and they spent a lot of time around animals. They both shared a love of dogs, and they enjoyed bird watching together throughout their whole marriage. They also went on many trips up the coast, often back to Merimbula to dog sit while friends went on holidays, and they enjoyed travelling until Jeff's health deteriorated. Sadly, in 2015, Jeff passed away, and after some time to process a life on her own, Sylvia continued her involvement with Neighbourhood Watch. She made some lovely friends in her own neighbourhood, and everyone's dogs in the area also knew her. She looked after many dogs in the area, and Sylvia knew every dog out walking by name, often knowing the dog's name and not the owner. She was also passionate about her garden in Eastwood and making sure that all the bird baths were full for the birds to enjoy. Sylvia stopped driving after Jeff died, and she became well known by many for walking into town from Eastwood. She kept active and fit, and not having kids herself, Sylvia kept in contact with her nieces and nephews, and she cared deeply about what was going on in her family's lives. Well, Sylvia moved to Maddox Gardens in April last year, and she settled comfortably with the help and support of the wonderful staff there. She was treated with warmth and respect, and on behalf of her family, I would like to thank the staff at Maddox Gardens for providing Sylvia with such wonderful care. A special mention and thank you must also go to two close friends of Sylvia's, Lynn Dean and Maureen Glassborough. They were both amazing in their support to Sylvia when Kerry couldn't be there for her aunt, and Sylvia valued their friendships dearly. Well, Sylvia's body grew tired, and she passed away peacefully on the 19th of January at Maddox Gardens. She was 87 years old. That's just a very quick snapshot of her life, and to continue sharing some memories, I have a couple of tributes here to share on behalf of some important people and special people in Sylvia's life. And I'm going to start with probably the not most important one, but the longest lifelong friendship here is over 80 years, and it's from Dorothy, her childhood friend, who is with us today. My friend Sylvia. I have known her since, well, it seems like my whole life. We both went to the same Catholic school up on Richmond Hill. We enjoyed dancing at Siegfield's Ballroom, Hawthorn Town Hall, and we loved the movies at the Globe, Victory and Burnley theatres, and we dearly loved our friends over the many years. Sylvia's love for her music was evident by the many records she owned, and the turntable was always busy. She loved singing. She loved to sing as if no one was listening. Early in 1958, Sylvia came to live with me and my baby son after my marriage had broken down, and many times she proved to be my pillar of strength. My mum had built a house at Pascoe Vale, and we were able to stay at my mum's old house at 15 Chestnut Street, Richmond. We were young women enjoying life. Like so many other young people, Sylvia went to live at different places at different times. For a while it was in Clifton Hill Another place was Elmer Road in St Kilda. It was there that she met Fred Herbert, the director of the play Hello Dolly. Fred gave Sylvia her first white poodle puppy, which she named Dolly, and her love for her poodles began. We kept in contact as we both worked in town. At the time, Sylvia worked at Taylor's College, and I would call in on my lunch break to chat. On one occasion, George Taylor asked if I would like to work with Sylvia and have our chats while working, rather than keeping one of his staff from her desk. He was a wonderful man, and he was a great boss to Sylvia. It was while working at Taylor's that Sylvia told me of a vacant flat in Jollymont Road, where she was. I got the flat, and good fun was had. One of our very close friends from that time, Anne Bilby, nee Macbeth, is very sorry that medical appointments are preventing her from being here today in person. She sent her love. It was at that time that Sylvia met Jeff, whom she married and went to live with in Caulfield. Next, Sylvia and Jeff bought a flat in Park Street, St Kilda. It was there the saddest chapter of her life played out. She had spent 2 months of her pregnancy in bed, ringing me to tell me that she had just miscarried her baby. They then moved to Hollywood Street in Hampton, the place that she loved the most. Truro Beach and Maroondah proved hard work. Marlow was not a happy place. She used to often say that she had to talk to the cows. From there to Eastwood, and on occasions back to Melbourne to visit with me and Bernard. I know my friend has gone to a better place, but I will miss her as part of my life. Thank you, Dorothy. That's some special memories of a long time ago and the early years of Sylvia's life. That's great. And now from more recent years in her life, two people that I mentioned earlier, Maureen and Lynn. I'm going to mention Maureen's because it's the longest and it's the smallest writing. So I'm going to hold it up. So this is from Maureen Glassborough, Sylvia's next door neighbour. When Sylvia and Jeff Nixon bought the house next door over a decade ago, my husband David and I knew from the first conversation with them that they were going to be lovely neighbours, and they were. They loved to have a chat at every chance, taking great interest in hearing about all that was happening with our growing family. They loved to go for walks and soon became known to many people in the Eastwood area. It didn't take long for it to become obvious Sylvia's great love for dogs. She would strike up a conversation with people as they walked their dogs, paying lots of attention to their four-legged friends with lots of pats and cuddles. She also offered to take them for a walk and even taken care of them when owners had to go out of town for a few days. The dogs were spoiled rotten while having a sleepover with Sylvia. Sylvia also loved birds and could reel off the names of the different species she would see in her garden. She kept little bowls of water under her trees and shrubs for them to have a drink or a bath on the hot days. She and Jeff became involved with Neighbourhood Watch, attending meetings and special events. Sylvia delivered their newsletter into the many letterboxes in our neighbourhood well into her 80s. Sylvia was a generous and caring lady who supported such organisations as the Guide Dogs, the Fred Hollows Foundation, the Royal Flying Doctor Service, and many more with her regular donations. We loved having her and Jeff over for a visit and getting to know our family. They shared in our joy as each grandchild arrived. Sylvia had a special relationship with our granddaughter Poppy, and Pop loved nothing more than to make little gifts for Sylvia, like homemade birthday and Christmas cards, drawings and small pictures of dogs made from beads. She would also raid my garden for small flowers and sticky tape them to the front of the cards. Sylvia was often so touched at the obvious time Pop put into these little gifts and would be close to tears with joy. Our family shared the ups and downs of life, such as weddings, births, health issues, and the sad passing of loved ones. After Jeff's sudden passing in 2015 on the walking track below our home, David and I waited for Sylvia to arrive home the following day from Truro Beach, where she had been house-sitting for a friend and taking care of their animals. We stayed with her while she made the necessary phone calls, and it was arranged for me to take her the following morning to formally identify Jeff. It was a sad moment for us both, and I was glad to be able to offer my support to Sylvia at this difficult time. In the weeks, months and years that followed, Sylvia had a lot of lovely neighbours calling in on her and checking to see if she was okay. We spent good times together, going out for coffee, lunch, shopping and the occasional trip to the cinema. She joined us for Christmas lunch on several occasions. She was a strong, determined lady who took pride in her independence. She loved her walks, tending to her garden, listening to her music and visiting Poppy in to see her, and visitors popping in to see her, sorry. Our outdoor areas faced each other with just the boundary fence in between. This made it easy for us to have little chats over the fence, and she could easily get our attention by calling out if she needed help. Lots of things were passed over that fence to each other, like meals, cakes, slices, sausage rolls and pies, fruit, vegetables, cards, newspapers, etc. We had a system going where I would keep an eye out for Sylvia's kitchen blind to open in the morning and close at night, and the lights going off, then on again when she went to bed. Whenever something didn't seem right, I would give her a quick phone call, and if no answer, I would let myself and usually one of the neighbours in with the spare key she'd given me to check on her and to make sure she was okay. Sylvia was a great support to me when I lost my darling David 3 years ago to lung cancer. We cried in each other's arms, and I knew she was familiar with that same sense of loss and loneliness. It brought us even closer. In recent years, as her health began to decline, she had a lot of support from many of the neighbours with doctor's appointments, hospital tests, shopping meals and household chores. She didn't like to be a burden to anyone, and she was always apologising for her need of help. Eventually, she got to the point where it was becoming obvious that she needed 24/7 care, and the conversation of going into a nursing home began. Sylvia went into Maddox Gardens on the Tuesday after Easter last year after a 4-day stay in hospital. It had been pre-arranged for her to have 3 months in respite care there, but then a room became available and her niece, Kerry, worked with the appropriate people to have Sylvia become a permanent resident. It was a big adjustment for her and she longed to be back in her own home, but her health issues were like a roller coaster. 1 minute she was like the Sylvia of old, next it would be take a turn for the worst. She eventually realised it was in her best interest to remain there with the level of care around the clock from the dedicated and caring staff. Her home was put on the market and the settlement of the sale went through 6 days before her passing. She was sad to see her beloved home sell, but was happy to hear a little dog. She was so sad to see her beloved home sell, but was happy to hear a little dog would be making it its new home, along with a cat and the owners who are, by the way, lovely. Our neighbour Lynn and I kept a bedside vigil in the lead up to Sylvia's passing, only leaving to go home at night after she looked settled. I was there to see her take her last breath at around 10:15am on Sunday, January the 19th, with Lynn arriving just minutes later. She was finally at peace. I'd like to say a big thank you to all of Sylvia's many friends and neighbours for their devotion and care of her over the past few years. First and foremost to Lynn and Henry, who devoted an amazing amount of time to Kevin and Marlene, Willie, Alan and Carol, Veronica and Paul, Laurel and Glenn, Jess, Trudy and Steve, and to Danny for keeping her lawns immaculate, and to her niece Kerry for all that you've done. Sincere apologies if I've left anyone out. Well, our beautiful Sylvia, thank you for your friendship, the laughs you had and the memories you leave behind. The time has come for us to say goodbye. We know you are in heaven now with Jeff welcoming you with open arms, and you can give your beloved dogs a cuddle once more. Dave's there too, wanting updates over the last 3 years. And Jeff's cousin and our much loved neighbour Carol, who recently took her final journey home on December the 13th, is waiting to show you around and have a cuppa. You were so loved by so many, and we will all miss you dearly until we meet again and start our new neighbourhood in heaven. You finally have your wings, so fly away now. There's freedom for you. Don't look back, just enjoy the view. Rest in peace. What a beautiful tribute. Thank you so much. That was really, an excellent collection of memories there of a beautiful lady from a special neighbour. Now another special neighbour I have from Lynn, Henry and Cricket the dog. Our dearest Sylvia, our special neighbour and friend, dog sitter and dog walker and bird feeder. Sylvia liked her garden and chatting with people passing by she was always grateful for help in the garden, but it had to be done her way. She was also a member of Neighbourhood Watch, keeping an eye on everything and doing the newsletter drop around the area. At the start of every day, the radio went on, listening to the local station, Reg FM. She loved her big band music and wartime songs. Up till about 12 months ago, Sylvia was quite active. But she had an issue with her legs which slowed her down. Sylvia was not happy about this. After a few falls at home, she went into respite care at Maddox Gardens and she was assessed as not being able to go home. Then began the roller coaster ride. Some days were good, some were bad, and she just didn't like being in the home. Good days we could go lunching and out for a drive or to appointments. The Banksia staff were fantastic and Sylvia could be quite difficult at times. Sylvia is finally at rest and she is now at peace with herself. She will be sadly missed by all. I just hope she has her walking shoes on there. There will be lots of doggies waiting for their walkies. Lots of love, Lynn, Henry and Cricket the dog. So some really special memories there of Sylvia. Thank you so much for taking the time to write those. They're quite long and lengthy and really informative, and I think they've really given us a bit of a sense of certainly the love that everyone had for Sylvia. Is there anyone that would like to come forward and share anything? There is a chance when we do conclude today, there are going to be refreshments, or a wake as we could call it, across at the RSL. So when we do conclude today, I know that Sylvia's family, Kerry and the family, warmly invite you to join them at the RSL to continue sharing your memories and stories in a less formal setting. So a warm invitation for you to join them at the RSL. On that note, we have some photos to now enjoy. A couple of great songs have been chosen to accompany these photos, and it's a lovely chance to take a trip down memory lane while remembering Sylvia's life, so please enjoy.
He was a famous trumpet man from out Chicago way. He had a boogie style that no one else could play. He was a top man at his craft, but then his number came up and he was gone with the draft. He's in the army now, a blowin' reveille. He's the boogie-woogie bugle boy of Company B. They made him blow a bugle for his Uncle Sam. It really brought him down because he couldn't jam. The captain seemed to understand. because the next day the cat went out and drafted a band, and now the company jumps when he plays reveille. He's the boogie-woogie bugle boy of Company B. A toot, a toot, a toot-dilly-a toot, he blows it 8 to the bar. In boogie rhythm, he can't blow a note unless the bass and guitar is playing with him. He makes a company jump when he plays reveille. He's the boogie-woogie bugle boy of Company B. He was the boogie-woogie bugle boy of Company B. And when he plays boogie-woogie bugle, he was busy as a bee. And when he plays, he makes the company jump 8 to the bar. He's a boogie-woogie bugle boy of Company B. Toot-toot-toot-toot-da-da, toot-da-da, toot-toot, he blows it 8 to the bar. He can't blow a note if the bass and guitar isn't with him. The company jumps when he plays reveille. He's a boogie-woogie bugle boy of Company B. To sleep with boogie every night and wakes them up the same way in the early bright. They clap their hands and stamp their feet because they know how he plays. When someone gives him a beat, he really breaks it up when he plays reveille. He's the boogie-woogie bugle boy of Company B. Jumps when he plays reveille. He's the boogie-woogie bugle boy of Company B.
I noticed Sylvia wearing a magpie scarf. We should have known she'd vote for a team named after a bird, of course. Great photos and a couple of, perfect songs. As we mentioned, Sylvia loved her music, particularly big band music, so that was great. I have a reading to share with you now. It's we know that Sylvia loved this reading because she chose to share it at Jeff's funeral, and Kerry and I thought it was a fitting one to share again today. It's titled Footprints in the Sand. One night I dreamed I was walking along the beach with the Lord. Many scenes from my life flashed across the sky. In each scene I noticed footprints in the sand. Sometimes there were 2 sets of footprints, other times there were 1 set of footprints. This bothered me because I noticed that during the lowest points of my life, when I was suffering from anguish, sorrow or defeat, I could only see 1 set of footprints. So I said to the Lord, "You promised me, Lord, that if I followed you, you would walk with me always. But I have noticed that during the most trying periods of my life, there have only been 1 set of footprints in the sand. Why, when I needed you the most, you have not been there for me?" The Lord replied, "The times when you have only seen 1 set of footprints in the sand is when I carried you." Well, it's hard to capture a person's life in such a short amount of time. Their memories and the photos that have been shared today make up just a small part of the sort of person that Sylvia was to you all. I hope that each of you will continue to remember the happy times and the good times that you spent with Sylvia, the things that you have learned from her, and the memories that you have to keep close to your heart. In the spirit of honouring Sylvia today, let us leave here carrying forward the values she embodied. May we find inspiration in the way she lived her life with value and purpose, and may her spirit live on in the stories we share and the love that continues to connect us. There's no question that Sylvia was an important part of all of your lives, and her memory and legacy will live on in the hearts of everyone here this afternoon. One final short verse I share today are words I feel certain Sylvia would want you all to know. I'd like the memory of me to be a happy one. I'd like to leave an afterglow of smiles when life is done. I'd like to leave an echo whispering softly down the ways of happy times and laughing times and bright and sunny days. I'd like the tears of those who grieve to dry before the sun, of happy memories that I leave when my life is done. Well, thank you once again, everyone, for being here to celebrate Sylvia's life, particularly those who have travelled long distances. Your presence today speaks volumes about how loved and respected she was. May we continue to carry forward the lessons Sylvia has taught us, and may we honour her memory by living our lives to the fullest with kindness, compassion and generosity in our hearts. We know that she would want that for you all. In closing, I would like to share the Lord's Prayer, and I invite those of you who wish to please join me. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Sylvia was never one to be in the spotlight, but this service has been a chance for her to be remembered fondly and most proudly. And I'm sure if she could, she would thank each and every one of you, particularly the front few rows here, for being such an important part of her life. Sylvia, may you rest in peace with the certain knowledge that our love goes with you. Thank you.